If you're going to karaoke more than, I would say, once every 6 months, you're part of the problem, okay? And just like that, we are back with chapter 102 of The Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Friday, March 13th, 2026. I am Mugsy the Creator, the Village Tavern waiter, the color grader, the editor of all things related to the universe according to Mugsy. This podcast where we have discussions about the current events that are playing out before your very eyes, how they are a product of the culture which we all contribute to in our own individual consciousness. It is so nice to be back here for chapter 102, recording 32-bit float into this microphone, which makes it so much easier for me to deal with in post-production. So much success we had in chapter 101. It was so great to see that everyone loved Daisy Floral, my girl Ashley from the Village Tavern, the new waitress who is back again for another round of waitressing at the Village Tavern. It's such a small little world that we all live in, and it's funny how we all do need something. Even if we're successful in our own business, we still need something to do, like at the end of the day, and hanging out and meeting new people, waiting tables is such a fun way to spend your time. That podcast was unbelievable. I would say somewhere around The Universe According to Mugsy, chapter 98, we started the celebration of what is 100 chapters of building a podcast. It's pretty insane. And it was a nice trip down memory lane for us to go and look at how far we've come, all the growth that we've had over the past 3 years to get to 100 episodes, basically solo dolo alone. And that we accomplished. And then 101 comes around, this amazing conversation that we had with Ashley, and I just forget the basics, and I am pounded back into the ground and reminded that you ain't nothing, buddy. You got to ground yourself and remember that you're doing all the things here. You're color grading, you're editing, you're remembering to turn the camera on, you're remembering how microphones work, so that if you hand this microphone to Ashley and just let her do whatever she wants on there, those are things that you're going to have to clip. I'm so glad that no one noticed. It really does show how far we've come, especially myself as an audio engineer.
Good show.
Watch that one.
That was pretty.
Understanding the little things that I need to remove to make this conversation the best that it is for your ears, which really just makes all the words coming out of my mouth sound that much better and that much crisper and that much smarter or funnier or whatever it is that I'm trying to get. And it also helps my guests achieve their goal of getting their point across and sounding as intelligent as they can from an audio engineering perspective, and that's my responsibility to do. That's my responsibility. I got to remember all of these little things, and you're doing them all at the same time, which really makes each one of these podcasts such a synchronous event of all the energy coming together and recording whatever it is that we get, because, I mean, it's never going to be perfect. That was the irony. That was what I didn't want to forget. I had to learn so much about this audio engineering. I had to figure out exactly how to make all the sounds sound the same decibel of volume in your microphone on the other end that you're used to hearing from all the other people, so that when The Universe According to Mugsy comes on, you don't have to reach for that radio dial and start tuning that in. It just automatically flows at a decibel that's comfortable for you to be listening to it at. That is internationally negative 14 LUFS. I don't know how they picked that, but that is what the international standard is, and you'll see a lot of the platforms that are distributors, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, they have their own recommendations, and negative 14 decibels is the recommendation for YouTube. So it all... Anyways, that's a long way of saying if you click this video, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you right-click it, there's a button called Stats for Nerds, and there's going to be a number in there for loudness. And what you're shooting for, perfect score would be 0 decibels. It means you hit the target exactly on the bullseye, negative 14 LUFS, negative 14 decibels, right there, you're perfect. Now, how the hell I was able to achieve that, which is so hard to do because when you're rendering your audio, it might look like you're at -14, but when you actually render it through the system and it comes out on the other side as an MP3 or through an MP4 into the codec H264 with the different gamma on the, You don't need to know any of this. You don't need to know any of this, but I do. I need to understand, which is why it's such an amazing feat, which is what I'm trying to explain to you. If you go back and you click chapter 101, Daisy Florals, and you listen really closely, you're going to hear every time someone touches a microphone and it just pops. And those are the artifacts that I was unable to remove from this broadcast or that broadcast. But if you right click and you click that stats for nerds, you're going to see I got a perfect 0.0 for the scale of the audio engineering, which is like, oh, you could be so good in the area that's like the hardest and you just got lucky. So clear you got lucky. I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. That's a goddamn fact. And I honestly am one of the luckiest people in the entire world. So you just shoot a bullseye right there. And then like the simple thing that you could have just had, which is just, I mean, I had all this stuff with me. We could have done this. This is how we could have had the conversation and it would have been fine. And I wouldn't have had to remove 1,645 cuts in that audio. And it's punishment is what it was. If you don't remember to do the simple things, then you're going to be punished in one way or the other by the energy of the universe, the energy, frequency, vibration that we always talk about. One way or another, it just keeps coming right back around to you. Now, I couldn't believe it. The celebration was short-lived because immediately I get an opportunity to record what was truly an unbelievable conversation. It was so well received. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so happy that people were excited to hear from Ashley. She's such an interesting human being. It sounds like she's had such an amazing life already, and she's clearly so good at her designs. It was nice to see that she's already been recognized. You know what I mean? It's not like me coming along who doesn't know a hell of a lot about flowers being like, I think your flowers are pretty. I like the way you organize them. Like, oh, Vanity Fair and the Boston Globe, like they cover all the weddings that she was the florist at. This is like big accolades. It's actually becoming the embodiment of the thing. And that studio that she's got going on there, that is the true embodiment of an artist if I've ever seen. As soon as I walked in the door, it's like, we're good. Oh, this is going to be such a fun conversation because you can just see like this is an interesting human being. Ashley is someone who's thought about things. She spent time trying to understand the interactions that she's got into in her own life, and it's caused her to have some reflection, and she's got that all over her, and she's surrounded her environment in it. And she understands the environment, is what I'm saying. She understands what it takes to create art. It takes a little bit of throwing yourself out there, not understanding what's going to happen, because it's like an alchemical process that's moving through you. I don't even know. It's the stuff that we talk about on the podcast. I call it the heart-mind coherence, listening to the energy in my body that feels that I need to go on a certain journey that other people probably wouldn't take, like quitting their job banking and becoming a podcaster. But I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. Let's maybe do that. And then along the way, let's pick up some Tai Chi and some yoga and let's be a waiter again and let's catch up with some new people that I'm meeting. And it was so clear that that's the same thing that Ashley understands in a way. I don't know how she goes about her life interacting with it. I don't know if it's as clear an interaction as I make it seem to be, but nonetheless, she's doing something similar to me. And I said, it was like, oh, I've talked to other artists on here, Caleb. He's an actor. I would definitely say my boy Adam D. Butler is an artist in his own right. And Mary Todd is well on her way to becoming a more formalized artist. But Daisy Florals, man, that was like a conversation with someone who's definitely like starving artist in a way. Starving, not necessarily because she's starving for business. She's obviously got plenty of that. Every time I go out with her, she's trying to hire people for gigs she's got coming up. But starving in other ways because it takes a lot of energy and effort to create things. And it's tough to make a living going through that process constantly without the reassurance or stability of the way the other people in the world move about their lives. Or, as we talk about on here, fugazi stability. People think that they are in control of their life, not recognizing in reality there are forces far greater than them controlling the actions that come about. That's the ride that we take here on the universe according to Mugsy. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at something on one end, like the input coming into this microphone, and we're going to understand exactly how it gets into your eardrums and what exactly I am doing to get it there. Because that is your own life. If some bad's happening to you, you need to figure out how you got there. If I had to work in a karaoke bar, someone who didn't like me, who was trying to torture me, would make me do that job every day. But it is something incredibly fun to go out and do with my friends. So I was hanging out with Kristen and her husband and my girl, Ashley from Daisy Florals. And we went out for karaoke last Saturday night. It was so interesting. I had an amazing time. I have so much fun hanging out with those guys. And there were some people who were pretty good at singing, which is nice at a karaoke bar, but most of the people are not that good. And I don't know what we're going to hear. Sometimes we hear the same song a couple times because someone just wants to sing it again. This is all crazy stuff to me. I don't know if I could do, that would be torture. Have I told you guys that would be torture to me? So I'm looking at the bartender and I'm like, this has got to be rough on you guys, projecting my feelings on this at the bartender. But my girl Kristen quickly points out to me, oh, wait a minute. Do you know who's singing right now? And I'm like, you're right. Where is that bartender? And she's like, right over there. And all of a sudden, my bartender is flipping upside down on stage doing the karaoke. And then I see the other bartender taking care of all the bar. And I'm like, well, this one must not like it here. She's doing all the work while that one's getting to have all the fun over there. But then 10 minutes later, she's on the microphone too. The whole universe just finds balance. It's so interesting how everything in the end just seems to balance out. I never in a million years would I have thought that, oh, this is just a person who wants to get drinks for people and be out on a fun night, and then also has a secret fetish of wanting to be a pop star herself. So this gig is actually a perfect marriage for the two of them. And if you would, at first I'm like, there's no fucking way. Kristen, get the fuck out of here. There's no way that this bartender's the one singing. And then, so if you can go through that mind-blowing experience, and then you point out like a 65-year-old Asian lady, and you're like, guess what? She's going to sing next. There is no chance in hell that I would have bet $100 cash, and I don't have that. I would have been like, guaranteed this lady is not going to be the one hopping up on that stage next. But sure than shit, it was her. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Anyways, if you're going to karaoke more than, I would say, once every 6 months, you're part of the problem, okay? We got too much going on in the world for you to be doing that. I mean, join a choir. Teach singing lessons. If you're going to karaoke more than, oh my God, once a quarter, if you're going once a quarter and it's not the boss dragging you there to some sort of weird celebration, then that is too much karaoke. If you're going twice a month, I would say you were probably abused, like to a Britney Spears level. And if you are going you're going weekly to karaoke, I would say that it's a sexual fetish for you in a way. And in some way you are a voyeur and you like putting people through that weird thing that you at home come to in some way, shape, or form. That's just my guess. I don't know. There's so much going on, guys. It's a spiritual war out there. And when you start to realize that, you see it everywhere. There's a lot of people losing their mind about going to war again. And sometimes I just wonder which war we're talking about. There's so much. Do you remember when we started this podcast, guys? I covered all of the things that were going on in terms of the politics, and we predicted a lot of the events that would go on. And one of the things we said was Donald Trump and his cabinet team, which we loved at the time. Remember we said all the nice things about Tulsi Gabbard, how she was going to do the peace stuff, and Kash Patel was going to come in and clean up the FBI. But we said that them and Donald Trump are a part of the system, and you're never going to get a different result on the other end if you don't change the inputs at the beginning. So no matter what, we knew that this was not going to be a good story at the end of it for guys like me and you, the everyday average Americans, right? It's not going to be our lucky day, all right? Remember at the beginning of the war when we talked about there was a peace settlement that they already agreed upon? There was already, before the war even started, we talked about there was a peace settlement. And then the British sent Boris Johnson over there as a representative of the United States to go screw all that up. So then Donald Trump says, I can do that overnight again. I'm just going to do it just like that. But the problem was he didn't do that. And we're still in that war. And then we went and we said, I think we want Venezuela. And they have some cocaine boats maybe off their coast. There was no proof or evidence of that. There was no more, we don't even go through the motions. Michael Schellenberger was talking about this with Joe Rogan on the recent Joe Rogan podcast. He was talking about we don't even go through the motions of, there's like a procedure that you would follow if you want to go to war with somebody. You would go to the UN, right? This group of treaty people that we're all a part of, and we're going to say they violated some sort of international law. And the Prime Minister of Canada, a few months ago, actually came out and said, at the World Economic Forum, no less, that this is basically over now. Whatever we had all agreed upon, it's every man for themselves, and we're restarting that. And Donald Trump essentially, said, yeah, we're going to do that too. And I'm not surprised by it because we put the same inputs in. It's the same people and the same families and the same relations caught up in the same type of distractions. God damn, I'm so popular. Pause. All right, what were we talking about before I was so graciously interrupted by my boss asking me to host events on nights, which is great. So more podcast content for you, the listener. At some point, that will be coming down. Did I say what night? I'm going to bleep that if I said what night. I don't want you to know anything yet, but things are happening in real time here, guys. I got a clock. I'm on a clock. What were we talking about? We were talking about how this war is wag the dog, and Control Alt History Andy Hunt had an amazing video breaking it down, how this is like a distraction. Remember the Epstein stuff? We were talking about all that stuff, and no one was letting that go, which is good. And I like when people are trying to get to the bottom of things. But this is a distraction from that. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense, the Iran stuff. Part of me is what's unique about them? What could it be? What is so interesting about the Iranians? Astrologically, I'm like, is there anything going on that particular spot on the earth that people really want? It could be. Maybe there's actually something there. Maybe there's a magic portal or maybe something like that. One thing that's incredibly unique about the country or state, if you will, of Iran is they do not have a Rockefeller or a Rothschild, bank. So it's that's interesting. And they're the last country in the world. There was Venezuela, which they're getting one now. Surprise, surprise. And now Iran. And now all of a sudden, things are going on in Iran. I don't know what else is unique about them in that sort of a way, unless we're going to go with the magic portal, which it definitely could be. I was interested in the fact that when we went into Iraq, in the early 2000s, the first place that we went into was their science center. And their artifacts are what we were after. So, like, why'd we go there first? Why'd we go to that location, the museum? Like, you're real afraid that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, so you're going to go check those out in the museum where they're on display, the old artifacts. I don't know what it is. It's something weird going on. I don't know exactly what, but anyways, it's a distraction too. Right? It's just a perfect opportunity to distract the rest of the people from all the things that were going on before, and there will be more distractions. You guys clearly haven't noticed that you're all so poor. It's so funny. Even the rich people. We were talking about poverty over at the Consciousness Diary, another channel that I have here on YouTube. And also, you can find it. I'm going to have to put it on MugsyTheCreator.com. I am. Speaking of MugsyTheCreator.com, Now, hold on just a minute. Before you finish what you're about to say, you got an audience here. You got an audience here for a minute. So I want to remind you guys, my incentives are aligned with you. Okay, people? Are you in there? Are you in there? Do you hear me? My incentives are aligned with you, the audience. All right, guys? That's how I designed this podcast. We have no advertisements. Did you notice that? The first 76 episodes, we have no advertisements. That's because I don't want anyone getting in the way between me and you. In order for me to do that, I need you to go right now to patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator, and I want you to hit subscribe. I want you to sign up right now. That's what we need to do in order for me to stay close to you. Now get back to the episode and whatever you were saying, Mugsy. It is funny how people who think they're rich, like they're projecting their richness onto you, whether you have the money or not, but you may be smart enough to realize just how poor they really are. Some people walk around with $500,000, $1 million, couple millions, 100 million, and they feel like they are something. And in some clubs you are, buddy, but if you're here talking to me, I have no money. So anyone with 15 to 25 bucks in their pocket, they have more than me and they might as well be a trillionaire. So you ain't doing too good if you rub it up next to me. And that's what I like to call the bottom. I like to stay right there on the bottom and ground myself so I don't find myself in any predicaments like chapter 101 and Daisy Florals and all those little with the microphone. So I like to just keep reminding myself that I ain't shit, and you just got to work hard every single day. You got to take deep breaths. Remember to be healthy and laugh at yourself, and that's what will keep you grounded so that you don't get caught up in all this nonsense about worrying about things that don't really matter, like money. But at the end of the day, poverty, it's funny because the richest among us and the very poorest among us, they're essentially the same thing. Metzger says this all the time. I think I'm essentially doing a Metzger podcast to some degree. So that's why I like to stay at the bottom so that I can see that view at the top because they're the same, all right? How do you get to understand all of this stuff? Like, how do you even begin to start thinking about it? Well, when you see change happen in real time and you integrate that understanding into your life, you understand that it is really just programming. That's ultimately all we're talking about at the end of the day is just this pretty simple programming. And if you're able to program yourself and resist the other change of people trying to reprogram you, well, then you're kind of living in your own universe. You're doing your own thing. You have become your own entity floating around out there in the world, kind of like a planet. And you can create from that space. If you don't integrate that understanding, you become herded like sheep, right? And I myself have found myself as a sheep getting out so many sheep pens in my life that I began to realize it's all just Plato's allegory of a cave. And I can continually find myself in those traps, so I'm trying to enlighten other people to those traps so that we can all get ourselves out of those traps, and then we can all become our own individuals, programmed by ourselves, choosing our own thoughts and actions and coherent patterns, and we can, I don't know, try something different for a change. But that's very hard to do. That's why most people don't do it. That's why no one's here prevented me from having this conversation with you because it's so hard for you to actually go out and do that, to create that change in yourself. You're talking to the man in the mirror, as my buddy Michael Jackson put it. I digress. Getting back to that conversation about reprogramming, when you've seen it in real time, the programming happen, I'll give you a pretty hardcore example from my childhood. It is the Catholic Church. In the 90s, the Catholic Church had a stronghold on the city of Boston and the greater Boston area. And when I say a stronghold, I mean a sense of community and sense of belonging that everyone had, that they were a part of a parish that they went to at least once a week. You would go there and you would reflect on your thoughts, which is a crazy thing that most people don't even do nowadays. And that was a real community that people were tied to. They would do things for each other. They would help one another. And that community was essentially ripped apart by the Boston Globe's spotlight reporting of the child abuse that had been going on inside not only the Catholic Church with massive ties to the Boston area, but like the entire Catholic institutions at large. This scheme and this ring of abusers and abusees had been going on for quite some time, and it was like a managed mechanism behind the scenes that you weren't supposed to know about. And that, I think, gutted a lot of people. I didn't understand what was happening at the time. I didn't understand what was going on in their eyeballs, but what was happening was these people were being erased, in a way. Their entire existence, as they knew it, was being ripped from them. And then it broke some people. Like, it broke some people, they just pretended not to look at it. But other people couldn't help but look at it, and it probably had a profound effect on them in a way because it touched them in a more individual way. Not necessarily that they were abused, but that they in some way knew someone who was abused or enabled this abuse or should have done something about it. A guilt that is associated with that. And that just kind of tore apart the greater Boston area community in a sense. I guess if you were Jewish or something else in this community, maybe you didn't notice. But even if you were, you noticed all the people in the sadness in their eyeballs, in their hearts. And that is why I think it was the 90s. I don't know when the spotlight scandal broke. I don't remember exactly when that was. It was just kind of a slow tide change. And then all of a sudden people, they had to form new communities. And some of them maybe did. A lot of them got lost, and I'm sure a lot of them are no longer with us. And that community in and of itself no longer exists. And that's just kind of the way that it goes somehow. Or that's just kind of the way that it goes, is some things break apart and new ones come together. That's part of living in a sense. But the religion one is unique because it's so tied to people's philosophy. It's kind of like they put all their eggs in that basket. And if you're going to rip that one from them, you're killing them in a way, because their whole family lineage was brought up in this type of, I don't know, it's a way to be raised, Irish Catholic. I don't even know what that really means, because I was like half raised like that and like half it was gone. But these people were very quick in the early 2000s to pick up and replace that with another longing that we had, like our old long lost buddy, which is sports in the Boston area. And we really filled and packed that religious hole in, or that like void that was left when they ripped religion away from us, through that sports and all of the championships that were going on in the city of Boston at the time. It was crazy. One after another, title town they called us, but a new brainwashing it was if you were paying it. I got caught up in all of it, right? Like, I'm not sitting here saying I'm any smarter than anybody else, but when you start to see this, start to see it happen over and over and over again, you start to recognize patterns. And if you start picking up patterns, then I don't have to get caught up in all the emotion that gets sucked out of me, the energy that goes into like, oh, I got to believe in this God, and I got to do the things that he says. And every Sunday I gotta go there for an hour, and I gotta pay attention, and I gotta think about the things that I did wrong. Because that guy's gone. Like, that guy no longer exists. I don't gotta get sucked into every time Tom Brady has a fucking fart or he steps off a plane wrong and rolls his ankle if he's gonna be out there on Sunday. The different religion that I was replaced with. That instead of 10 o'clock in the morning, it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon, except for on Sundays and Thursday nights. Guys, it's all the same thing. It's new religion now. Until you find the religion for yourself, I don't know how I am to help you guys. I have so much going on right now. That was a quick one. I gotta breeze through this. It is what it is, guys. You know? You gotta build the thing that you want. Whatever that's gonna be. That's a phone call from somebody to me trying to help me build a thing. Because they need some help building their thing, and together we're gonna build some things together. That's just how it goes. So build some cool shit. Or get caught up in somebody else's bullshit, and don't come to me when you're sad that it all gets ripped away from you and you find out that these athletes and these priests and these politicians and these leaders aren't the people that you thought they should be. The leaders are the ones that are grounding themselves. Getting themselves on the ground every single day, trying to figure out how they can do things better. I guarantee you, you have leaders among you, right? Wherever you from, whatever you do in your job, in your fucking life, in your fucking little league, whatever the fuck it is that you do. You know what a leader looks like when you see a fucking leader. So why are we following around these motherfucking magicians, putting dark magic on us, soothsayers with their fucking sweet talking, convincing us to do dumb shit? I don't want to be convinced to do any more dumb shit. So what I need is I need all you people to stop trying to convince me to do dumb shit or stay the fuck away from me. All right? If you're going to come hang out with me, you got to vibrate at my level and stop trying to convince me to do some dumb shit. I haven't seen the thing that you watch, and no, I'm not watching the game. You want to sing some karaoke? Fuck, I guess I'll do that with you, but that's the... Yeah, see, you're going to get me. I'm going to come to the thing. I'm going to do the stuff. So, I guess we're fucked. I guess we're fucked. Take back your consciousness. I love you. And I'm out. If you want to find out where else you can listen to this broadcast and you're a human, you can go to MugsyTheCreator.com. If you're a robot, I got nothing for you. I mean, unless you can subscribe over here, or you can click this playlist. If you're a robot, you can do that. That would definitely help. Like, subscribe, whatever you want. Thanks a lot, guys.